This video is brought to you by my patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for your generous support in funding this channel and keeping it up and running. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vault of the Archangel. And normally I'm opening the vault and talking about good stuff, but today we're talking about some garbage fire. We're talking about the worst sets in all of Magic history. And I like this topic because it kind of gives me an opportunity to talk about and look back at the sets that really did not shine. I mean, they were the cream of the crop when it comes to the crap. So we're going to be looking at a couple of sets here. We're going to be looking at the top 10 worst sets in all of Magic history. Before we jump into it, though, I do want to give a couple of rules as to how I was able to make this decision because if I'm just looking at sets where I had 0 cards that came, that I got from that set, then I'm going to find a lot of random stuff like they're going to be like the Global Series, right? Because that wasn't that great. There weren't any cards from that set that I liked, but it's such a small set. I didn't really feel like it was worth including here. It doesn't feel... it's kind of like an honorable or dishonorable mention. So, I didn't really want to include sets that small. So the way I've decided to talk about sets is it has to have at least 50 cards that are not reprints. In order for me to talk about whether or not it's good. I feel like that's a good bottom limit. It doesn't get rid of all the smallest of sets, but it allows us to talk about some that are pretty cool without talking about those really, really tiny ones. So 50 cards at least. If it's banned in Commander, it's counting as something that's so unplayable, I can't play it even if I wanted to, so kind of considering it that. And then obviously basic lands don't really count. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start talking about these worst sets. Starting with number 10, which is going to be Betrayers of Komagawa. So this one has 3 cards that I've added into my deck. Here, Great Glass Spinner is in my Braids deck, Life Gift is in my Angus Mackenzie deck, and then Umezawa's Jite is in my Nahiri deck. So definitely some good cards, 3 of them, but that's out of the entire set. Those are the only 3 cards that the whole set is offering. So if I kind of make a percentage of how much of the set is just garbage, that gives me a trash score of 98.11%. So you can see there's a lot of jank in this set. 3 cards are great, but the rest of them not very helpful. At least not for my decks. They didn't really make the cut in comparison to a lot of other sets. So putting Betrayers of Komagawa up to number 10 here on the list. Number 9 is Homelands. So this is something I think a lot of people would be surprised to see at this low on the list. People would assume it's 1, 2, maybe 3, but number 9 is only Homelands, and that's because there are 2 cards that I like. Primal Order for my Rada deck, and then Sengir Autocrat for my Krav and Regna deck, meaning that this has a trash score of 98.26%. So with that in mind, it's actually not quite so bad as the rest of the sets on this list. So I don't know if that makes you excited to hear about what else is not that great, or if you're excited if you're kind of like, bored. If everything's worse than Homelands, how bad is it going to have to be? So Homelands here, number 9 on the list. Number 8 is Apocalypse. So out of Apocalypse, the only 2 cards that are actually okay or really good is Life and Death and Phyrexian Arena. So Life and Death I'm playing in my Zero Aryan Reanimator deck, and then Phyrexian Arena I'm playing in a bunch of different decks. And I mentioned this on a Twitter poll, I want to say maybe a week or 2 ago, and Phyrexian Arena was the only card from its year of 2001 that is going into multiple decks of mine. So Phyrexian Arena is kind of the unique one from that year. And that year is unique because every other year had 2, 3, 4, maybe even more cards, up to like 20-something cards that are in multiple decks of mine. And so Phyrexian Arena being the only card from 2001 that's good enough to be a staple effect, kind of surprising, but when you look at it, Apocalypse, really not that great. It's got a trash score of 98.60%, so definitely a lot of, garbage. not a lot of great cards in the set of Apocalypse. And Life and Death, kind of another interesting thing. Life and Death is the only, split card that I'm using in any of my decks, and I think that's also including Aftermath cards. I don't think I have any of those either, so pretty interesting card that it's actually making into my deck when most of the time Morph cards are not that great. Alright, so next set is Legions. So this one, I believe, is number 5 on the list, number 6, number 5, something like that. We've got Legions with Mistform Ultimus in my Unesh deck, and then Wirewood Channeler in my Ronas deck. So not too bad. Both of these cards are pretty good. However, when you look at the full size of the set, that gives this a score of 98.61%, a trash score. So this set and the previous set, both of these kind of similar in size. but with this one, that difference in size kind of equates to a different trash score. And so that is Legions. Next up on the list is Saviors of Komagawa, with only 2 cards as well. So Molting Skin is a card that I'm playing in my Rada Enchantress deck, and then Sakashima the Imposter I'm playing in my Unesh deck. Giving this set a trash score of 98.79%. That is a lot of cards that's just not doing much. So that's why I feel like Saviors are coming out, just not doing a whole lot here. And so there we can see already 2 sets from Kanagawa, kind of giving credence to the idea that Komagawa wasn't really a great time during Magic. Not just Homelands, Komagawa was also pretty bad, and it's interesting to see that Saviors of Komagawa was actually worse than Homelands. Next set here is Ice Age. This was a little bit interesting because it is the biggest set in all of Magic. So that allows us to have 4 cards from the set that are great, but because it's so big, that still gives it a trash score of 98.83%. So Brainstorm I'm playing in my Jori End deck, Finehorn Elves I'm playing in Ronas, Mystic Remora I'm playing in multiple decks because it's a pretty good card for drawing extra cards, and then Orcish Librarian I'm playing in Atali. So Ice Age here, not only is it the biggest set, it was also the first set where we had snow-covered basics, so it kind of was tough to keep in mind that, yeah, I got to take out the snow-covered basics because at first it was coming up that, you know, I did have snow-covered basics in some sets, in some decks, and so there was a different score for this one than what it was supposed to be. So after taking out those, snow-covered basics from the math, this definitely came up on the top 10. And you can see, with such a huge deck, having with such a huge set, having over 300, I think it's almost 350 cards in the set, you would expect a lot more than just 4 cards that are good. But that's not the case here. Only 4 cards for my decks from this huge set. Alright, we're getting here towards the end. Fallen Empires is the next on the list, with only a single card that's made it into any of my decks, and that is Night Soil. Night Soil is being played in my Rada Enchantress deck as a way to, deal with graveyards and make tokens, which is not too bad. But it's surprising because out of the whole set, that's the only card giving Fallen Empires a trash score of 99.02%. So less than 1% of all the cards in Fallen Empires are actually any good and worth playing. And that is number 3 here on my list. Number 2, Portal Second Age. Actually, no, this is number 3. Number 3, Portal Second Age, with only 1 card, Temporal Manipulation, is the only card that's worth playing from this set in my decks, and I'm playing this one in my Jori End deck, giving Portal Second Age a trash score of 99.11%. So you can really see a lot of these sets, they're just getting to the point where you're not having any cards in the set that's really all that helpful. Temporal Manipulation, as obviously is a pretty good one. It's basically just a functional reprint of Time Warp. And I think it might have actually come before Time Warp. I'm not sure which one came first. But Temporal Manipulation is pretty good, making Portal Second Age at least have 1 card, right? That's worth playing. But other than Temporal Manipulation, everything else is... So, next on our list, and this is number 2, Portal. So we can see here that we've seen the Portal sets as well, not just the Kamigawa and Homelands. Portal is also here on the list, with Last Chance being the only card in any of my decks. This is a pretty recent addition in my Seer Kara deck. So before Seer Kara, I actually had no cards from Portal. Last Chance is a way that we can, get an extra turn if we need to have one, giving Portal a total trash score of 99.37%. And after this is really, scraping the bottom of the trash can, giving us our number 1 top set that's the worst. It is Arabian Nights, and I would put the cards that I'm including from my deck on this page, but there aren't any. There's literally not even a single card from this set of 77 cards, not even a single one that's in any of my decks, giving this a trash score of 100%. So this is the worst set in all of Magic according to my commander decks and what I've built. And I haven't built these things with a specific desire to try to include cards of one type and then not of another. I'm just including cards just based on what's good for the deck, and Arabian Nights just doesn't have anything. You can see the background here is City of Brass, which a lot of people really like. Personally, I don't like taking damage from lands. I think life is an important resource, so I'd hate to just waste it on creating mana when there's plenty of other options that can create mana for me a lot more easily. So that is it. Those are the top 10 worst sets in all of Magic. Let me know, what do you think? Do you agree with this list? Do you think that there's something missing? Or do you think I'm missing some gems from these pretty trashy sets? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Stay awesome.